Councillor Vaughan.
I'll be supporting Councillor Stints' motions. I've been a long-time advocate of blended bodies, taking carriage of issues that are most easily defined as things like the Library Board and like the Police Service Board. And I think that transit is one of those issues that will benefit from a blended board. I don't, however, support putting elected and accountable members of the public, your neighbours and mine, in a minority position on that board. I think that removes a layer of accountability which I think is critical to the way in which organizations like this function. That's why I was so strongly in support of the motion that I presented to Council last spring around 7 and 4 as being the ideal model. When we deviate from that, there should be reasons. And I haven't seen reasons put in front of us today that would lend me confidence to support an alternative configuration. What's really important in this change that's being presented to us is actually not the 7 that come on to this body from Council. And I'll get to that in a minute. It's actually the next step, which is the 4 that come on to this Council. The 4 that we appoint, I mean, if we're looking for someone with transit experience who understands the city system and is birthed internationally with experience from around the globe and is someone with a strong track record and high ethics and accountability, the person we'd be appointing is Gary Webster. That's the person. That's the citizen we'd actually appoint to this body. Unfortunately, he doesn't live in Toronto. But I think it speaks to really, you know, these are 4 very rare positions if what we're looking for is transit experience in this city. If, however, what we're looking to do is to look beyond the 45 of us here and broaden the number of perspectives and the voices and the ideas and the experiences of using transit in Toronto, we have an opportunity to talk to people with disabilities. We have an opportunity to talk to people from parts of the city where perhaps a councillor won't be appointed from, to make sure that there's representation from those communities. Small businesses, as an example. There are lots of other experiences that are critical to the success and future of transit, which we can incorporate with a broader-based decision-making body that, if it remains accountable to the public, will be a better decision-making body because they have better inputs being delivered to it. But the other reason I'm supporting the motions that have been put in front of us is because it's good city-building policy. The way in which we use transit to leverage opportunities in the city goes way beyond just simply deciding where we put a transit line and where we don't put a transit line. When you look at issues like tourism, we know that the tourism industry relies heavily on public transit. And if we don't have a transit system that understands that and intersects with our tourism and economic development strategies, we don't have a transit system that's going to serve this city. We know that public works and transit critically interface on situations like where the tracks go, or where the surface routes go, where the roads go, and where our pipes and conduits underground are, that if we don't get that piece right, we end up with huge problems. Witness what happened when we buried Hydro on St. Clair. Everyone blames transit for that dynamic. Hydro deserves a share of the responsibility too. And we never talk about that. We always like to blame transit. But it was the lack of ability to get Hydro and transit working on the same page at the same time with the same goals that actually caused a number of those budget overruns. Think about transit and employment. If you uncouple employment strategies from public transit investments, it will not work. It will not work. And so we need the people who are guiding our Economic Development Committee, almost entirely made up of councillors, to be able to interface and overlap with the folks doing transit investments so that intelligence is shared across both forums simultaneously so that we're coordinated across the city body. And then finally, planning. Planning. This entire debate is really about planning, not about transit. We've focused it in on transit because it's a real interesting little political dynamic that allows us to promise something to some people and hopefully deliver. But if we don't integrate that with good city planning, we're not delivering anything to anybody but a white elephant and operational challenges and capital problems down the road, the likes of which no amount of city plans will ever fix. And so if we don't get those two bodies working in concert with one another, and it's one of the reasons I think the chair of planning almost always sits on transit, is because we need to make sure those two bodies are working simultaneously on the same page with the same agenda. And when we lose sight of that, we end up with bad planning and bad transit. And I think we've got examples of that all over this city. So we need to make sure that our transit body and our council decision-making bodies...
Councillor Vaughan, do you need an extension?
Yes, please. Sorry, I looked up at that clock. I apologize. Yes, please.
Recorded vote.
I thought it was at 2 minutes now. Wow. Yeah.
Councillor Kelly, please.
This is the vote for the extension.
Councillor McConnell, please. Councillor Layton. Councillor McConnell, please.
Nothing. Think of it as a clerk. Sorry.
See, I'm there for you.
The motion to extend the Speaker's time carries 29-2.
Thank you.
So we need a blended board, and we need a city building board. And those boards are configured in the motions that Councillor Stintz has presented to us. But finally, I want to talk about Gary Webster. No one's mentioned his name very often today. We had a very nice acknowledgement of Gary Wright's accomplishments as chief planner. Gary Webster does not get that from this council because of what happened a couple of weeks ago, and that's wrong. That's wrong. Gary Webster was a dedicated civil servant who served this city well and served transit in this city well. And the way in which he was exited from this corporation and from this council's decision-making process is wrong. It's just wrong. And I don't care how you spin it and how you package it and how you describe it. What we're doing today is an acknowledgement that what happened a few weeks ago should not happen to civil servants who give us their best advice. That is no way to respond to a council decision that doesn't go your way. If you don't like what council did, bring it to the floor of council. Do not take it out on the civil service. It's incorrect. It's unprofessional, and this council will be served better by the decision it makes in the next few minutes by standing up for professional advice and a professional relationship with its civil service and a civil relationship with its civil service, and not by the politics of vendetta. It's absolutely critical for us. I also want to say that it's not the civil servant's job to fulfill anybody's mandate. They're there to help us fulfill our mandate, but they're not there to fulfill our mandate. That's our job, and it's our job to convince our colleagues to get that done. And when we veer from that course, it's a problem. And then finally, on the issue of Gary Webster, I'd like to thank him. Thank him for his service and his honesty and for his dignity when quite clearly we could have done better.
Thank you, Councillor Vaughan.